Well, thank you very much, Jordan, and good afternoon, everybody. I hope you all had a nice holiday with your family and friends. I had a good Thanksgiving. My in-laws are new residents to the DMV, so we got to celebrate with them here on the East Coast, which was nice. Um, Want to share a few updates with you all, and then we can open it up for questions. First thing I want to share with you all is to let you know that tomorrow evening, Tuesday night, is going to be the final meeting of the Montgomery County Anti-Hate Task Force, which will provide their joint recommendations to the council at our next session on December 5th, a week from tomorrow. When I first launched the task force, I knew that we had a big task ahead of us, one that is incredibly vital to the future of our community. We want to make sure that everybody lives in our community and is able to do so safely and peacefully with their loved ones, with our neighbors, and with future generations to come. And we know that these are difficult times. We're seeing on our TV screens and reading on our devices what is happening in real time in the Middle East. And we know how many of our family and neighbors have been affected by what's happening not only there, but with the increase in hatred that's directed at members of the Muslim and Jewish communities here at home and across the country. That is the underpinning of this work. I want to thank all of the amazing task force members who have worked tirelessly over the last number of months to what will culminate in tomorrow's meeting. There have been nearly 50 meetings by the task force and its different groups. And these have been community listening sessions, as well as presentations by representatives of each group. And these recommendations include a mix of broad legislative solutions, continuing education, and also public safety efforts, so that we as the council and the county executive and our community as a whole can hear what these most impacted communities need to feel safe and secure. And then we can work with them and the entire community to find other solutions that will strengthen us, that will bring us together and make sure that we all feel safe here in our community. As I mentioned, the final meeting is going to take place tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Wheaton Recreation Center and Library in Wheaton. It will take place in the library's social hall, which is a large room to accommodate everybody from the task force, members of the public, and members of the media. And so if any of you have any questions about that, please reach out to our PIO office or my office, but we'll be there at 7 p.m. to hear from every group, every cohort about their final recommendations. There's something else that's happening tomorrow, and that will be happening here in the council office building. I will be joining two of my colleagues, Council Vice President Andrew Friedson and Council Member Kristen Mink, to unveil a new zoning measure that the three of us are introducing together. And this zoning measure is a recognition that housing is extremely expensive in our region. One of the reasons that housing is so expensive is because new apartment buildings are required to provide parking for residents, even if those residents don't want it or need it. And as we continue being smart in our housing strategy, namely by encouraging new growth in transit-oriented areas where there is robust public transportation infrastructure, we want to make sure that we offset the need for single occupancy vehicles. And what we are going to be introducing is a way to help us rethink of the demands placed on housing and the artificially inflated cost of housing. According to our planning department, it costs between $70,000 and $100,000 to build a single parking space underground that is required for new development in our urban areas. And that is why we are introducing a zoning text amendment that will reduce the cost of housing and promote car-free living. The proposed zoning measure would eliminate parking requirements within a half-mile radius of a metro station, within a half-mile radius of a Purple Line station, and within a quarter-mile radius of bus rapid transit stations. And if adopted, this zoning text amendment would encourage development of housing. It would encourage the development of more affordable housing, and it would encourage and facilitate us to meet our climate goals by further promoting public transportation and reducing cars on our roadways. And so this press conference, once again, will be led by myself, Council Vice President Andrew Friedson, and Councilmember Kristen Mink, will be held at noon at the Council Office Building on the 3rd floor. We will also be joined by housing and transit activists and leaders. Speaking of climate and meeting our climate goals, want to bring your attention to the Transportation and Environment Committee that will be meeting within the next hour to talk about how our county is meeting our climate action plan goals. In June of 2021, the county completed its climate action plan, which is an extension of our climate mobilization, our emergency climate declaration that was declared back in December of 2017. And that declaration back in 2017 requires us to reduce our emissions by 80% by the year 2027 and fully eliminate our carbon emissions, 100% elimination by 2035. And so we are having an update today on where we are on those metrics, where we are with our policymaking, and where we need to go. And not only is the Transportation and Environment Committee the committee of jurisdiction over this, but it's important to note that our transportation sector emits 42% of the county's carbon emissions based on a report from 2018. So everything that we're doing to encourage public transportation, encourage more electric vehicle conversion, and other things is moving us in that right direction. We'll be getting an update at the public hearing, public work session, which is at 1:30 today. So look forward to any questions or follow-up you might have on that. Last thing I just want to mention for your situational awareness, that is this Wednesday, the council is going to be having our youth town hall. It'll be held on Wednesday at 7 p.m. here in the council chamber. We're going to be joined by our student member of the board, Sameh Saeed, and the board president for Board of Education, Carla Silvestre. We're going to be joined by lots of students who are going to share with us their thoughts about life here in Montgomery County, what we're doing right, what we can be doing better. And if kids are interested in joining us in person, there will be a pizza reception at 6:15 to make sure that they are fed before we start the public conversation at 7 o'clock. But this is one of my favorite events every year because it really brings our young people from across the country, across the county together so that we can learn from each other, engage from each other, and talk about what's really on their mind. Before, some of you might recall, before joining the council, I led an after-school organization where we elevated youth voices. And so youth voices are particularly of importance to me because it's not only an important marker on where we are now, but where we're going to be headed as our young people become leaders themselves. And so look forward to seeing you all at that Youth Town Hall this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And with that, I think that's it, Jordan. So I'll just turn it back over to you for any questions people might have.
Great. Thank you, Council President Glass. Reporters, another friendly reminder, if you have any questions, please note that in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll call on you accordingly. I don't see any questions at the moment, but reporters, again, if you have any questions, please note that in the chat. Any questions for remarks? Going once? Okay, I see a hand up. Kelly Lynn with WJLA TV. Good afternoon, Kelly.
Hello. I was wondering, Mr. Glass, if you could talk to us about specific numbers when it comes to hate crime incidents in Montgomery County. Tell us what you're seeing when it comes to this. And then secondly, if you could talk about the most important changes that you would like to see put in place when it comes to addressing hate crimes in Montgomery County.
Thank you for that question, Kelly. Based on the most recent hate crime incidents report, which is a report put out by the Montgomery County Police Department, and I encourage you to look that up online to get the statistics for yourself. We are experiencing the highest rate of hate crimes than we've ever experienced in the last decade. And so many of us in our community are concerned about our safety and the safety of our loved ones. And the data is very clear on who are the targets of these heinous hate crimes. We know that members of our Jewish community, our Muslim community, the Latino and Hispanic community, our Black and African American community, our Asian American Pacific Islander community, and our LGBTQ plus community are bearing the brunt of the hate and vitriol that exists not only in our county, but across the country. And these are the groups that we have brought together to lead this work over the last number of months. I don't want to get ahead of what the report is going to say, but we can look at it from a few different ways. There are proposals to increase funding for our nonprofit and houses of worship security grants to make sure that communities feel safe while they're praying. If there are ever any hours in the week where one should be at peace and be safe, it should be while they are praying. And this county is one of the only counties in the entire country to put any money, and we have more than $1 million that we have provided in grants to help our faith community and our nonprofit community feel safe during their time of prayer. There are some other proposals to change some regulations and laws. And then the last thing I will say is there has been a lot of focus on our schools, making sure that kids are taught right from wrong, making sure that kids are taught real history and what has happened to some of our underrepresented groups throughout the course of human existence. This is why history is so incredibly important, and we need to make sure that if something happens in school, it is stopped, that kids feel safe in the classroom, and that we continue teaching, because as we all know, if we do not teach history, we're doomed to repeat it. And these are themes that you'll hear tomorrow night when the final report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Reporters, any other questions? You can note it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Going once. Going twice. 3 times. Okay, back to you, Council President Glass, for closing remarks.
Again, thank you everybody for your interest. Kelly, thank you for your question. So I'm just going to reiterate the number of events that are happening this week as we come back from our Thanksgiving holiday. Tomorrow night, the Anti-Hate Task Force will be having its final meeting and report out. That'll be at 7 o'clock at the Wheaton Library. Tomorrow afternoon at noon, I'll be joined by colleagues to introduce our zoning text amendment that will foster more housing to be built by reducing the cost of that housing in our urban areas. And then Wednesday night is the youth town hall for those of you who are interested in hearing what's on the minds of our young people here in Montgomery County. And as always, if there's anything else that's of interest, please don't hesitate to reach out. But appreciate you all and look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of these upcoming events this week. Have a good afternoon.